You either win or you learn is a mantra that has been popularized by John Kavanaugh, who is or was Conor McGregor's coach. And I remember the first time I heard this phrase was from John in an interview shortly after Conor had been beaten by Habib. And as soon as he said it, it was like the wrong piano key was struck. And the phrase stuck with me because it is misaligned. And the misalignment occurs because there is positivity being forced into this mantra. And it's forced to the degree that it creates misalignment because rather than having the word lose, you have the word learn. When actually lose would take precedence because you learn as a result of the loss. So I understand the reasoning and the rationale. And then here we have this interview where John Kavanaugh talks about the mindset. And John Kavanaugh accepts losses. He knows that you lose. He is not, there's no misalignment with him. I think it's a phrase that he has stuck with because he thinks that you should grow and progress from losses. But my problem is really just the phrase itself because it's really, you don't, in the implicit in the phrase is that you are not accepting the loss. Rather, you only have this dichotomy where you are only winning or you are only learning when the learning is actually a result of the loss. So the loss would take precedence and you would learn from the loss. So win or lose and learn would be more appropriate here, although not nearly as catchy. But we see positivity forced and insisted upon many times, and sometimes it's to the detriment of the, let's just call them the participants in the positivity, because there's a non-acknowledgement of the result of the negative outcome, and negative outcomes are are part of life, right? Like they're a part of athletics, they're a part of competition, they're a part of everything. They're in all sorts of exchanges, right? Losses are a part of this. And if there are not losses, if the losses don't exist, then the wins can't exist either. And by the way, this phrase also, if you buy into it, then you don't have any education from the win, which we know that you can still learn from a win as well. So I think it's just a problematic phrase is what I'm getting at. And I think the main problem I have is the misalignment due to this insistence and this idea that everything has to be positive and we can't paint things in a negative way or else that makes us negative. No, it's just that sometimes there are negative outcomes and negative occurrences. And I think it's, that then you would have where you would have the mindset come in to where it's like, okay, we understand this is a loss, we understand this is a negative, but here is how we are going to move forward from this, right? And attempt to improve so that the next time we do get that positive outcome we are seeking. So it's always been, these types of mantras and phrases. Another one that I'll talk about is the misuse of the word opportunity to escape anything, things that are bad. These are things that create misalignment and ultimately cause problems, right? Because if you don't accept certain objective truth, then it's only going to work against you. And having a negative outcome is something that does not need to be avoided at all costs. And yet, with a lot of the dialogue that we've seen in, let's say, the last 2 decades or so, or however long it is, we have seen this increasing use of language to shy away and really shield against any type of negative occurrences when that shouldn't be the case at all, especially when the negative occurrences are right there. So in some cases, it can lead to delusion, outright delusion. In this case, with John Kavanaugh, and by the way, I have another tab here. He actually wrote a book called, it's titled "Win or Learn." And again, if you listen to the John Kavanaugh interview, there's no problems with his mindset, or I don't find anything wrong with his mindset, etc. It's just the phrase, it's the mantra that I take issue with. But John Kavanaugh, in this interview, I'll link to the interview on UFC Fight Pass. He accepts losses readily. He knows that you have to come back from them. He accepts them. So there's not. I don't think it's really any his position. I think it's just the phrase that is problematic.